Today we're studying biblical timeline number 27, and it's titled Last Things, and it is the last section of our study on the biblical timeline. And I've kind of gone back and reviewed it, and I really would like to make available to anybody that would want it the 27 CDs with 27 outlines, because I think if you knew anybody that said, well, I don't know the Bible well enough, or I wish I knew the Bible better, if they just got that, they would have an overview of the Bible, and they would know how to rightly divide it. They would know how to understand what's being said. So, not tooting my own horn or anything, I just think we've covered some really good things, and it'd be good for anybody. So, in fact, I was talking to Turner about it, and she says she definitely wants 27 CDs and 27 outlines for herself, as well as to be able to share with others, the friends of her kids.
And the bishops up in Iowa, they're going to start.
Right, they're going to start a Bible study the same way. So I think it's a real good thing.
Is that those folks that were here that one night that was coming from some church locally?
Right, the nomads.
The nomads.
The two couples that
Right.
came. That's right, yeah. But anyway, getting back to our thing, last things. If you'll remember, we've covered a lot of things in our timeline here. And what is not up here at the end, which should be, but we'll add it later, is that about in this period right here, we have already covered the 1,000 years of the rule of Jesus Christ on earth. So remember that we've come all the way from creation, we've come through our time, and we've actually already come through those 1,000 years of the rule of Jesus Christ on earth. And that means the apostles have had their 12 thrones, remember? They wanted to know what they'd get, and the Lord said, you'll get to sit on 12 thrones. They've got to sit on 12 thrones. The Jews, and remember when that was promised? When were they promised 12 thrones? Right here, right in the timeline. It's the Jesus Christ himself, when he was on earth, told them they would get to sit on 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. And then the Jews, in this 1,000-year period, they've gotten to be priests to the nations. And when were they promised that? Back here at the time of Moses. That's right. They were promised they could be a peculiar people to the Lord. And in this 1,000-year period, towards the end of the Bible, there's been peace for 1,000 years. Peace. Without Satan. He was put aside, and we've had peace. And now, what we're starting at today is there's been this 1,000 years of peace, and now, for a reason that God only knows, Satan is released for what's called a little season. We don't know how long that little season is, but we know it's a little season. So, let's go to Revelation chapter 20, verses 7 and 8. And when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison, and shall go out to deceive the nations, which are in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea. So what we see here is that the unrepentant original sinner, remember who the unrepentant original sinner was? Satan himself. He gets released, and he reorganizes his old gang. And he prepares them for battle. This is this world that's been at peace for 1,000 years. Who's he going to do battle against? Let's go to verse 9. And they went up on the breadth of the earth, that's Satan and his army, and compassed the camp of the saints about, now, and the beloved city. Now, where is that?
Jerusalem.
That's Jerusalem. So Satan gathers them together and go against Jerusalem. Jesus Christ is living in Jerusalem. He's the king. And they're coming to battle against Jerusalem. And it says, and fire came down from God out of heaven and devoured them. So what we get to see here is God's long suffering is over. They dared to attack Jesus Christ. And they're gone. He burned them up. Fire came out of heaven and burned them up. Let's read verse 10. And the devil that deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and the false prophet are, and shall be tormented day and night forever and ever. Whew. Remember that what we are is we're up there in the heavenlies and we're looking down. So this does not concern us. This is what's happening here on earth at the end of the 1,000-year reign of Christ. And at this time, down goes the devil, and he's going to be tormented forever and ever. And then in verses 11 to 13, the Apostle John gets this revelation from God. And it says, I saw a great white throne, and him that sat on it, from whose face the earth and heaven fled away, and there was found no place for them. And I saw the dead, small and great, stand before God. And the books were opened. And another book was opened, which is the book of life. And the dead were judged out of those things which were written in the books according to their works. And the sea gave up the dead which were in it, and the sea and hell delivered up the dead which were in them, and they were judged every man according to their works. Now remember that this judgment, is God's answer to all those who would not bring themselves to ask God for mercy, which is freely given. They have turned down the mercy which is freely given. They have said, only the weak need God. They have said, only the stupid would trust in things they can't see, unseen things. They say with their thoughts, actions, and words that they can be better without God, just like the devil did. That's what they've said. They're the ones that say that they're good for goodness' sake. They're the ones that when the season is celebrated for the birth of our Lord, when He came to earth to sacrifice to save us, and for us it's a season of celebration, they say it's a season not of faith, which it is for us, but for them they say it's a season of reason. So everything they want to do is man. They want to be judged by men on how good they are. Well, now they are judged according to those very works they bragged about and counted on. That's what happens in front of this throne. This is what the majority of humanity is doing today. That's a different time period. But it's what the majority of humanity is doing today. Even many churchgoers are trying to prove how good they can be without God. Cain was a religious man. He was the same thing as a churchgoer. He took his sacrifice and delivered it to the Lord, his way. He didn't do it God's way. So a very religious person can be totally against God. He can still be trying to promote himself as the God in his life. Let's go to verses 14 and 15. And death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death. And whosoever was not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire. So this is really the final separation of good and evil. This is it. This is the final line. As you talk about rightly dividing, here the Lord does His final division, and He divides good from evil right here. It's sad to think that most of mankind will be lost. That most of mankind will go to hell. God tells us it's always just a remnant that believes, or a small minority. And He has suffered our rejections for so long. If you'll remember, we'll go down this timeline a little bit. He started with Adam and Eve.